Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well. So for this video I thought I'd do a time-lapse and a Q&A just to sort of mix things up a bit. I'm going to be drawing Charlie the Golden Labrador using coloured pencils, and you'll be able to see my drawing process start to finish. And whilst that's going on, I thought I'd do a bit of a Q&A in the background, which has actually been a long time coming. I was going to do a Q&A for my first YouTube video, but that didn't obviously work out. So I asked you on Instagram ages ago to send me some questions that you'd want to know. So I've narrowed it down to sort of the top 10, and I'm going to try and be concise and actually stick to the point when I'm answering them, but I do tend to go off on a tangent and I'll end up telling you about 20 stories in one. So we'll see how we get on, but yeah. So for question 1, you asked me, how long does it take you to complete a portrait? So I'd say that depends on two main factors really. One being obviously the size of the portrait that I'm drawing. So the smallest size that I offer is 6 by 6 inch, which I can complete in around like 2 to 3 hours really if I proper crack on with it. The largest size that I offer is 16 by 20 inch, which can take anywhere between like 15 and 25 hours ish. So to break that down, it's probably about 2.5 to 3 days of work, again if I proper crack on with it. I have definitely got a lot quicker at drawing over the years, as I've found like the best techniques that work for me in the quickest way, and developed it to a point where I don't think I have to like think too much about what colours or materials or like what order I'm going to use them in. It's almost like second nature now, so that obviously helps because you can kind of really practice your technique once you're drawing every single day for long periods of time, to a point where you can get a lot quicker, I guess. I'd say the second point that plays a big part in how long it takes me to complete a portrait is probably the quality of the reference photo. It's kind of a difficult one because if you get sent a really, really good, amazing quality photo, that can take you equally as long as a photo that's really bad quality because you're trying to draw in all that lovely detail. But for the reference photos that you get sent that aren't as good quality, they usually take longer because you're trying to fill in those gaps of detail by going off other photos and like using your own sort of initiative. But yeah, I'd say they're the two main things, so the size of the portrait and the quality of the image. So anywhere between like 2 hours and sort of 25 hours. But obviously it depends on a lot of things, but probably they're the main two, yeah. So the second question is, what made you want to start drawing animals in the first place? So I think, it's important just to draw like whatever you enjoy really. I've always been interested in portraiture, like throughout school and college and uni. My focus was always on portraiture, both like human and animal portraiture. Where I live as well, it backs onto a massive field and it's like surrounded by the countryside. There's literally always like deer in the field and squirrels, cows, sheep, like all your basic, like your classic British wildlife really. I also just like love animals. I've got a cockapoo called Bella. She's 6 now and she's literally treated like a child, completely spoilt rotten. But yeah, I've always just gravitated towards like portraiture and animals really. I remember the fine art course at college, we had to do certain themes like landscapes, buildings, stuff like that, but I never really had an interest with that. And it was only, I did a foundation course as well, so after college for a year, before you go to uni, you can do a foundation like diploma course where you sort of try out different artistic subjects, and every 3 weeks we got given a different theme. And one of the themes was animals, and I absolutely loved that. I produced loads of work just because I really enjoyed it, whereas like the other weeks I didn't really do as much work. So I think it's just like what you enjoy really. And I get like a lot of inspiration from where I live because it's just surrounded by like wildlife. I think as I'm getting older as well, I'm becoming more interested in sort of like African wildlife. And I think conservation's like quite important. I mean, I'm not like a massive like animal activist or anything like that, but I think artists can give like animals a voice, and obviously there's so many like endangered species, and even like every single year I apply to Sketch for Survival and David Shepherd's Wildlife Artist of the Year competition, and I think they're both like really good competitions because obviously you've got to pay to enter, but even just the taking part and the like, you're sort of donating to charity and helping the animals. So I think it's really good to get involved in stuff like that, and just do what you can like as an animal artist to sort of do your bit. So the third question is, do you photograph your work? Do you scan it in, or do you use your phone or a camera? Tips on lighting and editing images. So I always use my iPhone camera. I've currently got an iPhone 11. If my portrait is A4 or smaller, I'll tend to scan it in. I've only got like an Epson printer, so it's not the best scanner in the world. But it'll give you a much higher quality scanned image if you go on your computer and edit the resolution and make it, you know, quite a lot higher. So if the portrait that I've drawn is larger than A4, I'll tend to just take a picture on my phone. And in terms of editing images, I tend to only alter the brightness or the exposure on like my iPhone image settings or Photoshop or Procreate. I tend not to edit the colours or anything like that because otherwise it won't be like a true representation of what I've just drawn. In terms of tips for lighting, I always take a photo of my work in daylight, so next to a window. Nothing beats natural lighting really. I also have a ring light tripod, which is a good extra source of light as well. I keep it on the cool light setting because the warm light setting tends to make the paper look yellowish, and we want everything to look as bright and crisp white as possible really. So once I've taken a photo of my work like next to a window where there's a lot of daylight, and edited it with the exposure or the brightness slightly, and if I'm still not happy with like the brightness of the white paper on the photo, I'll tend to edit it on Photoshop or Procreate by literally erasing the background completely, carefully going around the outline of like every single hair, which can take a lot of time, but I think it's worth it for the outcome. It just makes all your images that you put online on your website and on Instagram and like social media, makes it look really clean and like professional. You want to make sure that you send your clients the best possible images of commissioned work as well. And for social media as well, like the quality of your photos are everything really, because no one sees your actual work, they just see the photo of the work, so it needs to be the best quality that you can. Keep everything looking sharp and clean, and I think you can't really go wrong. So the fourth question is, what materials do you use and where can I get them from? So for all my commissioned work I use extra white hot pressed Fabriano Artistico paper. I predominantly use Fabercastell Polychromos coloured pencils, but I also use Caran D'ache Luminance and Caran D'ache Pablo pencils, and I buy all of that from Jackson's Art online. I use a fine nib white uniball posca pen for all the sort of really white highlights in the eyes or like for the whiskers. I use a Jacquard electric pencil sharpener, which is amazing. If you've never used one, definitely try it, it saves you so much time. On my Patreon I've actually got 2 materials videos where I literally show you every single thing I use and like where I buy stuff from, so that might be useful if you're wanting something a bit more like in depth. In terms of like thank you notes, certificates of authenticity, stickers and stuff like that, I design them myself and I order them from Banana Print online. And I also get quite a lot of messages about where I get my gift boxes from, and they're from the Tiny Box Company online. I know I said I'd answer 10 questions, but I think I'll stick with 5 for this video because we'll literally be here all day otherwise. I do tend to ramble. I'll probably do another similar video soon as well, answering the other 5 questions. So the last question is, how did you get into art and build your own business from it? I don't think there was a specific point really where I like got into art. I've always just loved it. Even when I was younger I would like always be drawing and painting. I'd have like colouring books and sketchbooks, and I always loved like arts and crafts at school. basically any time I could be like creative, I just loved it. My nana was also like amazing at drawing, and I would go around and copy her work. So I think from like a young age I probably learnt how to like copy realistic work, like recreate realistic work kind of thing. I did do really well at school and college as well, with fine art, and so I went to study it at uni as well. I went to Leeds Arts Uni. It was very different than college though, in that everything was like really conceptual, with the aim of getting like your work into galleries and hoping someone somewhere would eventually notice your work kind of thing, instead of actually learning how to make money now by doing art. So uni didn't really help in terms of like business. I was always doing like little art stalls and fairs when I was about 15. And by that point, I'd started drawing sort of friends and family's dogs for free, and then for like a tenner or something. And then through like word of mouth and social media and like business cards and a website, it's just sort of grown over the years. I've always done it like alongside other work and uni, and I've always just wondered like how far I could actually push it if I went for it, and you know, if I did it full time. I think I'm really lucky in that I've obviously got a massive passion for something, and I found that so young as well. I never thought I could do this full time. I always thought it would just be like a hobby on the side, but if you've got a passion then you should like go for it. And as well, I think people are put off by not having enough time to sort of learn like all the businessy type things, but you sort of learn as you go. Like I didn't really have a clue at the start. Like I said, I just fell into it, and I got a lot of help from everyone around me and like other artists. And I didn't realise how many like paths I could branch off into either. There's literally so many things that you could do to make money from being an artist. But yeah, I am really lucky that I've had a lot of support in like turning my passion into a business kind of thing. Like my parents have never pushed me to do anything that I don't want to do. And they built me a studio to work in, which was like amazing, especially through lockdown. As I've just had that time to really push it and try different things. Like for example, I'm now on Patreon, so I'm sharing like drawing tutorials and like blogs, focus tutorials, giving monthly critiques to people, and I'm just really enjoying like that side to it. It's really rewarding, like teaching people as well. But yeah, I do absolutely love my business and like how far it's come from when I started just drawing like friends' dogs for free. And I think it's important to know that like you always need to grow in different ways. Well, your business always needs to grow in different ways, and you, I suppose. And like adapt in different ways as well, because everything like social media, just everything is always changing. But I am really lucky that I get to do like what I love every single day. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video of my coloured pencil drawing of Charlie the Golden Labrador, whilst I've been rambling on in the background. But hopefully I've answered some of your questions and you know a little bit more about me as well. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll leave all my links to social media down below in the description.